Ms. McCabe, I want to draw your attention to January 28. You had gone out drinking with your family at the Waterfall Bar and Grille, correct?
I went with my husband and met my sister, yes.
And met the other family, correct? The other family members, meaning
My niece.
Matt McCabe, Nicole, Chris, Julie, Caitlin, correct?
Yes.
And I think you mentioned Tristan was there as well.
Yes.
You were later joined by Nick and Karina Kolakithis, is that right?
Yes.
Ultimately, Brian Higgins showed up,
Yes.
and Brian Albert showed up.
Yes.
You previously indicated that Caitlin's boyfriend, Tristan, left early for whatever reason. He had errands to run or had to get to bed early for some reason, is that right?
He left before us, yes.
So he didn't stay through the shank of the evening?
Through the what?
The shank of the evening, through the course of the evening.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And ultimately, at the Waterfall, John O'Keefe and Miss Reed showed up as well.
Yes.
You didn't see any tension at all between John O'Keefe and Karen that night, did you?
No, I didn't.
They appeared to be getting along,
Yeah. Yes.
sort of a normal couple having a nice evening out together.
Yes.
Neither John nor Karen Reed appeared drunk or inebriated, out of sorts.
No, I wouldn't categorize them as drunk or inebriated.
And not
But again, I don't know what the definition of drunk is.
Well, that's a fair statement. I'm
Yeah.
not asking for their BAC, but they didn't appear to be stumbling around, falling all over themselves, and sloppy drunk, correct?
No.
Out of control, nothing like that.
No.
Okay. You did see Brian Higgins and Brian Albert at a high top table, sort of together, through the course of that evening, correct?
We were all kind of around like a long high top table.
And John O'Keefe, and as you look at I'm going to use the perspective of the video that we've seen, that camera angle that we've seen. John O'Keefe and Miss Reed were sort of further off in the corner, closer to the bar rather than to the tables, correct? Along with the Kolakithises and those, and you, as a matter of fact.
Yes. At different times, everyone was kind of moving around. I spent the majority of the time that Karen and John were there speaking with Karen.
And that was sort of over toward the bar.
We weren't in the bar, we were at the table, so it was one side of the table and the other. It wasn't like far away.
Right.
Kind of, yeah.
I'm using the bar sort of as a landmark for I didn't mean you were sidled up to the bar, but just sort of as a landmark. You were closer to the bar than, for instance, in the foreground, which would be the high top tables in the foreground, correct?
We were just on the other, I'm confused about this. We were just on the other side of the table.
Okay. You did see on the opposite side of that high top table, that's where Brian Albert and Brian Higgins were standing, talking, and communicating with each other. Is that right?
I believe so. I was talking to Miss Reed. I wasn't really paying attention to them.
Did you ever see those two men get physical with one another that night?
I did not that night. I did not see that.
Have you ever seen a full review in all the hours that you've sort of prepped for your testimony? Have you been shown that Waterfall video from the time you got there until the time you left?
Not the full video, but I have seen a good portion of it, yes.
Okay, and you've certainly seen the portion where Brian Albert and Brian Higgins get up from the table and sort of get physical with one another, correct?
I would say more like play fighting, and Nick Kolakidis was a little bit like doing it with them as well.
Okay, so the physical part is, all I'm asking is, did they touch each other? Yes.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
And you described it as play fighting, correct?
But I don't, if we could watch the video, it might explain it better than I could.
We probably will.
Oh, okay.
But right now I'm just asking about your memory. You remember them squaring off on one another, playing, but squaring off on one another,
I
correct?
don't remember them squaring off. Like I said, I just watched the video. I don't remember it from that night, and I didn't really pay attention. It looked like foolish, like guys just, I don't even know how to describe it.
From your perspective, having watched the video, did it appear that they squared off on each other and sort of took a fighting stance?
I didn't look at it that in depth, so I could not say that.
Did you see them walk up to each other and grapple with one another? Like they noticed punching each other.
Right.
I get that. Were they grappling with one another, like faking punches to each other?
I don't know.
Almost like sparring a little bit.
I don't honestly know.
But you did see the
I saw them together. It's blurry, and they're I don't know really what they're doing.
Okay, but they weren't standing there holding hands for
Oh, God, no. No.
They weren't on their phones, right?
They were engaging with each other, playfully grabbing at each other. I don't really...
Playfully grabbing at each other, play fighting, correct? That's my point.
I'd have to watch the video to categorize it as play fighting.
You don't have that in your head?
I didn't know. It was a quick clip. I wasn't like focusing on Brian and Brian. I was just identifying that was myself in the video, and there was Miss Reed, and I believe Miss Reed actually did some play fighting to Matt.
There was, in fact, to Matt.
Yeah, I feel like she was about like this to Matt at one point. Yeah,
Okay.
in the video.
So let's talk about Brian and Brian Higgins and Brian Albert. Those two men, very large in stature, correct?
They're the guys. Yeah.
Big boys. A lot bigger than me, right?
Yeah.
They took a fighting stance with each other and started grappling, playing, coming toward each other as if they were engaging in a fake physical altercation, correct?
I did not see that. I'm sorry.
Okay. You didn't even see it on the video.
I saw them on the video grabbing at each other. I didn't see stances but again, I didn't pay much attention to it.
And that's your best memory as you sit here today?
Yes.
Okay. Eventually, you, your husband, Brian Albert, Brian Higgins, Nicole, Caitlin, everybody went over to 34 Fairview at the end of the night,
Yes.
correct? The bar closed at, I'm guessing, midnight.
Okay.
Is that right?
I think we were wrapping up around then. I don't know what time it actually closes.
When you left Waterfall, the people that were still there included Matt, your husband, and John O'Keefe. Is that right?
Yes.
You walked out with Karina Kolakithis and Karen Reed.
Yes.
And you said to Miss Reed something along the lines of, "You're coming with me," correct?
I said, why don't you come with me?
Okay, fair enough. You were prompting her to join you for the ride over to 34 Fairview. Is that right?
Yes.
You even went outside and sort of waited in the cold. There's a video. Have you seen the video of you outside? The surveillance video of you outside in the cold?
Yes.
And you're sort of waiting there, moving from foot to foot like it's freezing out, which I'm sure it was, correct?
Yes.
In a big puffy coat of some kind, right?
So the question was, I moving foot to foot in a coat? Yes.
My question is more, did you see yourself waiting outside in the cold?
I saw myself convert. I believe I was in a conversation at that point when I was standing out there with John and Karen.
And that's when you were asking Karen to come with you?
No, I had asked Karen previously when we were at the door to come with me because I didn't know how long Matt and John were going to be in the bar because they
Right.
were in there still.
And that would have, by definition, brought Karen to 34 Fairview separate and apart from John O'Keefe if Karen had come with you. Is that
Yes.
right? Miss Reed ultimately declined your invitation and did go with John. Is that right?
John ended up coming to the door, so they just went together, yes.
And finally, you walked away and went with your husband, Matt, over to 34 Fairview in your personal vehicle, correct?
Yes.
When you arrived at 34 Fairview, were you the first among the group that we've just talked about to arrive, or had others arrived before you?
Others had arrived before me.
When you walked in to 34 Fairview, where was everybody generally located? Give me a layout of the interior of the home, how you walked in, and where everybody was located, the people that were there when you walked in from the Waterfall.
So I walked in through the front door. I took a right into the kitchen. And then there were people sitting around the kitchen table, Brian Albert Jr., Julie Nagel, Sarah Levinson, Caitlin Albert. My sister was over more towards like the counters and the sink. And Brian Albert and Brian Higgins were, there's like a room right off of the kitchen, like a TV room. And they were in there just talking. I think Nicole had like put up some new pictures, or maybe the sun and the Marines. They might have been looking at a picture. Vaguely have a faint memory of that.
You indicated that you walked in the front door, correct?
Yes.
May I approach briefly?
Yes.
Sure. Yeah, this is your copy. I'll take care of the rest later. Can you just take a look at that photograph for just a quick second?
Yes.
Do you recognize that photograph?
Yes.
What do you recognize that photograph as being?
It's my sister's house.
34 Fairview?
Yes, sorry, 34 Fairview.
Brian Albert's house as well?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'd like to mark this as marked for identification. There's a
Identification's fine.
thank you. If I may. What would be the next in order? What exhibit number is that, Mr. Wolf? 3. Your Honor, with the court's permission, I'm going to show a different exhibit until the other issue can be resolved. With the court's permission, it's Commonwealth Exhibit 3. Permission to publish?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf, could you highlight or enlarge the house as much as you can? Thank you. Ms. McCabe, do you recognize what's depicted in this photo? I know it's a little bit of an angle.
Yes.
What is that?
That is 34 Fairview.
Okay. Can you, I think this laser will work. May I approach?
Yes.
Can you use that laser and point to the front door that you entered when you walked in the house? Okay, that's directly in the middle of the just to the left of the flagpole for this purposes of this photograph, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Is there another entry door on the house that you may not be able to see, but you know the general area?
Yes.
Where's that door?
So that would be, see where these two windows are?
Yes.
The door would be kind of behind that right there. So it's right to the left of those two windows.
And Ms. McCabe, just staying with doors for a second, is there another door associated with the garage?
Oh, actually, yeah, there is. Right there.
Right there next to that side door?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. May I approach?
Yes.
Thank you. You didn't go in the side door, you went in the front door that night.
Yes.
You indicated that once inside the house, you were sort of in the kitchen area. Is that right?
I was in the kitchen, yes.
You weren't paying special attention to Brian Albert or Brian Higgins, what they were doing. As a matter of
No.
fact, I think they went into a different room. Is that right?
There's a room, kind of the kitchen opens up into the TV room. So they were in there.
So the only two that you recognized at this point in the night, not being sort of with everybody else, were Brian Albert and Brian Higgins, separated out in the family room or whatever that room's called, living room.
Yeah, if you like just right there, you know, right where they are. Just
Okay.
kind of right in the next room.
When you first pulled up, did you notice any vehicles in front of Brian Albert's house?
Yes, I did.
What vehicles did you notice? Vehicle or vehicles did you
Just
notice?
one.
What was that vehicle?
It was a Jeep.
Can you describe the Jeep for us, please?
I really can't. All I can say is that when I pulled down, the Jeep was on the parked on the street in front of the mailbox, and I turned into the driveway.
Okay. Did the Jeep have any special features on it that you remember, that you
No.
can describe?
Not that I can recall.
Big giant snowplow on the front?
Again, it was dark. I didn't really pay much detail to it beyond I just asked, whose Jeep is that?
And did you learn whose Jeep that was?
I did, yes.
Whose Jeep was it?
It was Brian Higgins' Jeep.
And you said that it was parked in front of the mailbox, is that right?
Yes.
So as you're looking at the house, the mailbox would be closest to the driveway, is that right?
Yes.
Rather than, for instance, the flagpole on the other side of the lawn.
Correct. So if the flagpole's here, there's the lawn, and then here's the here's the mailbox, and then the driveway's over here.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does to me.
Okay.
Thank you for that. You've previously indicated that the back edge of that vehicle, Brian Higgins' Jeep, was at the side, basically, of the driveway, which is what you've just described. It would be blocking the mailbox, the rear end associated with the driveway entrance, correct?
Yes.
Have you ever discussed having seen that Jeep in that spot with anybody else in this case?
Is that including previous testimony or?
It is. And at any time, before you testified at the previous hearing, had you discussed having seen that Jeep in that spot with anybody else? For instance, your husband?
Objection.
Sustained.
Was there any other car on that curb line, if you will, other than the Jeep when you pulled in?
Not that I remember.
And Brian Higgins, if it's his Jeep, he's in the house, that Jeep's not moving, correct? So it stayed where it was.
Yes.
At some point, did you observe Miss Reed's vehicle pull up to the driveway? I'm sorry, pull up to the house.
I was told there was a vehicle outside, so I went and looked.
Where
Yes.
was that vehicle? When you looked that first time, where was Miss Reed's SUV?
When I went to the front door and looked out, it was straight ahead.
So that would be parallel, actually in line with the Jeep, correct?
Yes.
Directly in front of the Jeep.
I don't know the distance, but yes, you're correct. It was in front of the Jeep.
So if the Jeep was a normal, it's a full-size Jeep, correct?
I don't know what size it is.
Certainly the SUV is a full-size SUV.
Yes.
All right. So that would take up much of the room of the curb area in front of 34 Fairview, between the Jeep, assuming there's a snowplow,
Right.
and a full-size SUV, correct?
I'm not really sure of the whole area, but there was the Jeep and then there was the car. I just don't know the distance between them.
You gave a description of the vehicles that were out in front of 34 Fairview in your January 29, 2022 interview with Trooper Proctor, correct?
He came to my house and asked me questions, correct?
When you gave that interview to Trooper Proctor, you indicated to him that you first observed Miss Reed's vehicle parked on the street by the driveway, correct?
I never said by the driveway, no.
So if that's in a report, Trooper Proctor got that fact wrong, got that
Objection.
detail wrong.
Sustained.
If in fact, well, let me ask it this way. What did you say to Trooper Proctor about where that vehicle was?
Miss Reed's vehicle?
Correct.
I told him it was straight out front, the window. The straight out front of the front door. Sorry.
Trooper Proctor wrote a report about his interview with you, correct?
Correct?
You've seen that report in other hearings, is that right?
Yes.
Your interview with him was on January 29th. Do you remember the date? I'm sorry, I just said the date. Do you remember the time? My mistake.
I don't remember the exact time. I'm assuming afternoon, like after 12, or I'm not 100%. Sorry.
You had been contacted by Trooper Proctor while you were still at 34 Fairview, is that right?
Yes.
Ultimately, instead of coming from the Canton Police Department to 34 Fairview, you went home to your house.
I did.
To
Yes.
the Country Lane address.
Yes, I did.
And Trooper Proctor ended up meeting you there, correct?
Yes.
And in addition to you and Matt being there, Brian Albert showed up, correct?
I asked him to come.
So you asked your brother-in-law to come to the interview that you were having with Trooper Proctor formally in furtherance of his investigation surrounding the circumstances of this case, correct?
No.
But Brian Albert did show up at your house.
He did. I asked him to come, yes.
And he was inside the house when Trooper Proctor ultimately interviewed you, correct?
He was in the house, yes.
And you'd spoken to Brian Albert before Trooper Proctor had interviewed you formally, correct?
I believe so, yes.
Matter of fact, several times you had to have spoken to him at 34 Fairview. You've already said that, right?
Oh, right, yeah, we were all there in the kitchen.
And then obviously you spoke to him about the interview before Trooper Proctor got to your house to interview you on the 29th as well, correct?
We were just talking about what happened. It wasn't specifically about Trooper Proctor.
Right. Not about Trooper Proctor. You talked to Brian Albert about the circumstances of this case before you spoke with Trooper Proctor.
Yes, I had.
Do you remember exactly what you said to Trooper Proctor about the location of the SUV in front of the house?
I know what I said, yes.
Okay, what exactly did you say to him?
I said the car was straight out front of the front door. When I was looking out the front door, it was straight ahead.
Isn't it true that what you actually said, Ms. McCabe, is that you first observed the vehicle parked on the street by the driveway facing in the direction toward Chapman? Objection.
I'll allow it. Is that what you said?
Those are not my words, no.
Okay, next question.